I stood at the airport, completely alone, and I couldn't read a single word. That's how it started. My hands were shaking. The cold metal of my suitcase handle felt slippery with sweat. Around me, people were rushing, speaking fast, laughing, shouting, calling out names. And I couldn't understand anything. Not one word. I had just landed in New York City. A new country, a new life, and I couldn't even ask where the bathroom was. It felt like standing in the middle of a storm with no shelter. I came from a small town in Colombia. I was 22 years old and had never left my country before. My family wasn't rich, but we had always dreamed big. My uncle, who moved to the US 10 years ago, told me, "Come here, work hard. You'll make a better life." So I did. But nobody warned me how hard it would be when you don't speak the language. The dream was simple. The reality wasn't. Back home, I had watched American movies with Spanish subtitles. I had listened to English songs, tried to sing along, even if I had no idea what the lyrics meant. I thought I kind of understood English. But the moment I landed in the US, I realized something important. Watching movies is not the same as surviving real life. When the airport security guard asked me something, I just froze. He repeated it. I blinked. My mouth opened, but no sound came out. My heart pounded like a drum. I showed him my passport with shaking hands. He sighed and waved me through. I wanted to cry. My first night in America. My uncle picked me up outside the airport. Thank God he spoke Spanish. He hugged me tight and said, "Welcome, Sobrino. You're home now." Home. That word meant something warm, something safe. But when we got to his small apartment in Queens, I just sat on the bed and stared at the wall. What had I done? I had no job, no friends, no English, and no idea how to begin. I tried to sleep that night, but my mind kept racing. What if I never learn? What if I fail? What if I go back home as the one who couldn't make it? First days, silence was my shadow. The next morning after I arrived in New York, the city outside the window was already awake. Loud, bright, fast. I looked out and saw people walking quickly. Taxis honking, delivery trucks unloading crates. Everyone seeming to know exactly where they were going. Except me. I felt like a ghost. I didn't belong in this world yet. My uncle knocked on my door. "Get dressed," he said in Spanish. "We're going out. I got you a job." A job? I didn't know what to feel. Happy? Nervous? I was still so tired, and everything felt strange. We took the train, my first time riding one. I stayed at the signs. They looked like code. My uncle moved with ease. I followed like a shadow, holding onto the rail tightly as the train rocked left and right. After about 30 minutes, we walked into a small diner. It smelled like fried eggs and coffee. The floors were black and white tiles, and waitresses moved around quickly, holding plates, taking orders. A bell rang every time the kitchen door swung open. My uncle spoke to the owner in English. I caught nothing of it. Then the man looked at me and nodded. "He says you can start today," my uncle said. "Washing dishes. You okay with that?" I nodded. My stomach tightened. The manager showed me the back. It was hot, noisy, full of steam and loud voices. There were piles of dirty plates, silverware, coffee cups. I put on gloves and got to work. I scrubbed, rinsed, stacked. All around me, English flew through the air like birds I couldn't catch. "Need more syrup on table 2. We out of napkins. Someone clean this mess. Now." I didn't answer. I couldn't. I didn't understand. Sometimes they looked at me, waiting for a reply. I just nodded, hoping I guessed right. At break time, the others sat together, laughing, scrolling through their phones. I sat in the corner, pretending to check my phone, too. I was too scared to join them. I didn't know how to say hello the right way. I felt invisible. Every morning, I woke up at 6 a.m., dressed in silence, took the crowded train to work, and stepped into that hot kitchen again. My fingers wrinkled from soap and water. My back ached from standing all day. But I kept going, because I had no choice, because I came here for a better life. And slowly, very slowly, I began to listen more carefully. A word would repeat itself again and again. Coffee. I heard that one every day. Then fork, table, cleaner. Words started sticking to my mind like puzzle pieces. But still, I didn't speak. Speaking meant making mistakes. And making mistakes, I believed, meant people would laugh, or worse, they'd think I was stupid. So I stayed silent. And silence became my shadow. The day I broke. One night, after finishing my shift at the diner, I realized I had run out of toothpaste. It sounds like nothing, a small thing. But when you don't know the language, even small things become mountains. I walked into a small store near my apartment. The bell over the door rang. Fluorescent lights buzzed above. The shelves were filled with colorful boxes and bottles, most of which I couldn't read. I walked down one aisle, then another. So many products, so many choices. I reached the personal care section and stared at a long row of boxes. Toothpaste, maybe, or maybe something else. I looked for a picture of a toothbrush or smiling tooth. I found one that looked right and picked it up. Hair dye. I laughed quietly, not because it was funny, but because I felt helpless. I looked around. Should I leave? Should I just guess? I hated this feeling, this mix of confusion and fear. Something as simple as buying toothpaste should not feel like a test I was about to fail. Then a worker walked over. He was young, probably my age, with curly hair and friendly eyes. You need help? He asked. The words hit me like waves. I knew help, but the rest felt blurry. Still, I had to try. I showed him the hair dye box and pointed to my teeth. Teeth, I said. My voice was barely a whisper. Brush, white. He paused. Then he smiled warmly. Oh, toothpaste. Aisle 5, to the right. Toothpaste. That was the word. I nodded. Yes, thank you. My voice trembled, but it came out. Real English. My first full sentence. I walked to aisle 5 and grabbed the real toothpaste. My heart was pounding, but this time, not from fear, from pride. On the way home, I kept repeating the sentence in my head. Toothpaste. Aisle 5. Thank you. I must have said it 100 times. I held the toothpaste like it was gold. When I got home, I looked at myself in the mirror. I smiled, big, wide, proud. That night, I wrote in my notebook, toothpaste, pasta de dientes, teeth, brush, white, equals my first English sentence. Don't give up. That small moment changed everything. Because for the first time, I saw something clearly. I could learn. I could speak. Even if it was slow, even if it was hard, I had taken the first step. And it felt like winning a medal, learning bit by bit. After that, I started pushing myself. Every night after work, I watched cartoons in English with English subtitles. Cartoons were easier to understand. The characters spoke clearly. The stories were simple. I paused the video, wrote down words, said them out loud. I downloaded a dictionary app. Every time I heard a new word, I typed it in. Soap, receipt, elevator. I carried a notebook everywhere. I wrote down phrases I heard on the train. How's it going? Excuse me. No worries. At work, I started whispering words under my breath. Plate, fork, water. One day, the waitress dropped a spoon and I picked it up. Hey, I said. She smiled. Thanks. I smiled too. That word, thanks, it made me feel like I existed. Funny mistakes and big lessons. Of course, I made a lot of mistakes. Many of them were small, but they felt huge in the moment. Looking back now, they are funny. But when they happened, I wanted the ground to open and swallow me. Let me tell you about one of the most embarrassing ones. It was a Sunday afternoon, and the diner was full. A woman came in wearing a beautiful red dress. She had bright lipstick and big sunglasses, like someone from a movie. I was trying hard to be friendly and practice my English. So when I brought her coffee, I wanted to give her a compliment. I remembered learning the word terrific in a cartoon show the night before. It meant something really good. But in my nervousness, I got confused. So I smiled at her and said, "You look terrible today." She stared at me. I saw her eyebrows go up. My heart stopped. Then, thank God, she burst out laughing. Not just a small laugh. She laughed so hard she had to wipe tears from her eyes. "Oh, honey," she said, "that's not what you meant, right?" I turned red. "No, I mean, you look, what's the word? Good. Very good." She laughed even more. "You mean terrific?" "Yes," I said, almost shouting. "Terrific." She touched my arm and said kindly, "Well, thank you. Don't worry. You're learning. Keep going." I was so embarrassed I couldn't speak for the rest of the day. But at the same time, I felt something new. That woman could have been rude. She could have made fun of me. But she didn't. She helped me. She made my mistake feel okay. That moment stayed with me. And it wasn't the only time. Another time, I needed to use the bathroom at work. I had learned a few words, but I didn't know how to say it the right way in English. So I walked up to my manager, a kind man named Frank, and said quietly, "I go toilet." He looked confused for half a second, then smiled. "You mean, can I use the restroom?" he asked gently. I nodded quickly, feeling like a child. He waved his hand. "Go ahead, kid. And hey, don't be shy. You're doing fine." I walked to the restroom thinking, why is English so full of polite ways to say simple things? Back home, if you need to go, you just say it. But hey, people said things like, "Excuse me, may I, would you mind if," it felt like I needed to learn not just words, but a whole new way of thinking. Then there was the ketchup incident. One day, a customer asked me for ketchup, but I didn't hear it right. I thought she said, "Ketchup." So I said, "Yes, yes, I will catch up." She looked confused. "No, I mean ketchup. For the fries." My eyes went wide. I quickly ran to the kitchen and brought her the bottle. "Oh," I said, "ketchup. Yes. Sorry." She smiled. "No problem. You're learning." Mistake after mistake, lesson after lesson. At first, these small errors made me feel dumb. I would lie awake at night thinking, why can't I just speak like everyone else? Why is it so hard? But slowly, I learned something important. People don't care if your English is perfect. They care if you try. One afternoon, I saw a sign outside a grocery store, now hiring cashiers and stock clerks. I stood outside the glass doors and watched the people inside. Customers were laughing. Workers were speaking English, some with accents, some without. I wanted to be one of them. My hands were sweaty as I walked inside and asked for an application. The manager, a tall man named Greg, looked at me and said, "You speak English?" I nodded. "Yes, I'm learning. I go to class. I work hard." He handed me the form. "Okay, fill this out." I took it home, filled it out slowly, checking every word in my dictionary. The next day, I came back for the interview. My heart was pounding like crazy. Greg looked at my form, then asked, "Why do you want to work here?" I took a deep breath and said, "Because I want to grow. I work hard. I learn fast. And I love talking to people." He looked at me for a long second. Then he smiled. "You're hired." Just like that. But to me, it wasn't just a job. It was something bigger. It was proof that I had changed. That I was not the same scared boy who couldn't say toothpaste. That I had made it, one word at a time. Now I speak, I laugh, I dream, in English. Today, it's been 4 years since I first stepped off that plane with shaking hands and no words. Now, every morning I wake up and read the news in English. I watch shows without subtitles. I write emails, fill out forms, even argue about prices on the phone. I speak English every single day, and not just for work. I use it to tell jokes, to comfort a friend, to ask questions in class, to order food, to dream. Yes, to dream. I'm now a student at a local community college, studying business. I want to open my own store one day. Maybe a cafe, maybe a small bookstore, maybe both. I want it to be a place where people feel safe to speak, to learn, to grow, just like I did. I also volunteer at the same ESL center where I first learned English. I help new students fill out their forms, understand their lessons, and practice small talk. I tell them, don't worry if you make mistakes. We all do. Sometimes they laugh nervously and say, but my English is bad. And I say, so was mine. And then I tell them this, you don't have to be perfect. Just be brave. That's what learning a language really is. It's not about perfection. It's about courage. What I want you to know, if you're learning English now, and it feels too hard, if you sit in class thinking, I will never get this, if you want to speak, but the words get stuck in your throat, if people laugh at your accent, if they say, what? And make you repeat it again and again, if you feel like crying because your tongue feels too heavy and your mouth won't move the right way, I understand you, because I was you. But let me tell you something. Don't give up, because one day, I promise you, one day, you will walk into a store, speak clearly, and no one will even know you once struggled. One day, you will sit in a classroom and help someone else learn. One day, you will laugh in a new language, cry in a new language, love in a new language. One day, you will dream in English, and you will remember this journey, not as something painful, but as something powerful. Because learning English doesn't just give you new words. It gives you a new life. I moved to the US without speaking English. And today, English is the language I use to chase my dreams. And if I did it, you can too.